Hey, I'm Daniel, and for this episode of the Film Crazy Show, which is an audio-only conversation, I was able to speak with actress Ella Ballentine about her role as Jackie in the coming-of-age film Black Conflux. The film is set in 1980s Newfoundland, where Jackie eventually crosses paths with alienated loner Tennis, played by Ryan McDonald. The film is now playing in select theaters and on demand in Canada. If you didn't see, I was also able to interview Nicole Dorsey, who wrote and directed the film. So if you want to watch that, just go to my past interviews. In the meantime, here's Ella to introduce the show.
Hi, my name is Ella Ballentine, and I played Jackie Dunphy in Black Conflux, and you're listening to the Film Craziest show.
Cool. Awesome. I'm excited to have you here to chat about Black Conflux.
Thank you.
Now, I'd love to start with kind of a general question, because I know you do like a variety of projects. You work with Brian Bertino, and you've done the Anne of Green Gables films. So what do you look for in a project? What makes you want to sign on to one?
Good question. I think for me, the biggest indicator right off the bat when I get an audition is what the character is like, and if it's a authentic woman. I find there's a lot of projects out there where the character description that I read is just so simple. It's female, 16, coming of age. She is confused but very pretty, or pretty but doesn't even know it. And that's just so two-dimensional. You can get that with almost every woman ever, So I think I've been really blessed to play a lot of variety of women, but they all stand out to me. And I think it's the job as the director and the actor to make it, a fully rounded person. But Anne of Green Gables, she was a total standout for the time period that she was in, and she was different than everybody, and that was really important to me. She was breaking barriers as she went along every single day. And I think it's Lizzie is the character in The Monster that was directed by Brian Bertino, and that was such an interesting role because she's a child who has to parent her mother, and that was such an interesting thing to work on with Brian and with Zoe. And then we have Black Conflux, and I actually read it and I was like, this is me, because I'm used to playing younger characters than my age. And at the time I played Jackie, we were the same age or maybe 1 year apart. And I was reading it, and what she was going through, I was going through at the time. And so it just totally stood out to me that I was reading it, and I read the sides and I read the script, and I was like, this is me. I don't even think I have to act. I just have to be myself.
Okay, neat. Now, what was it like kind of like workshopping the character of Jackie with Nicole? Because like you say, that it feels very personal for the both of you.
We had a day where we sat down and Nicole had a journal, which I don't know why that really stood out to me because we have the same journal. That just made me trust her a lot more. I don't know. I'm very connected with journaling. And she had pages of Jackie, and like writing out who she is and how she would react to certain things. And what she ended up doing was she did the Myers Briggs. Is it Myers Briggs?
Personality test, Myers-Briggs.
The personality test as Jackie, and it totally gave the perfect indication of who she is. I think that's a really good tool to do for a character study if you're going in to play a character. So we talked about each scene and why she's reacting the way she is. But we didn't get too much into it. I think it was more as the film started shooting, we were taking it as it all came. But yeah, that one meeting really stood out to me because it made sense. Everything made sense.
Okay. Now, this is set in 1987. So were there any like coming of age films that you watched to prepare for the character? Any inspirations you took? Maybe like some of John Hughes's 80s movies?
I'm not sure. I can't really recall. I don't think so, because what's really great about this movie is it can be anytime. the characters are so real, and the themes that we're facing with it are still existing today, sadly, but they are. Um, so I think it was more just about connecting with the actual characters in the story. I think the time period doesn't have a lot to do with it. I think more what I felt I had to connect with was actually the small town energy, because
Okay.
I'm a city girl. And so, me going to a party is very different than Jackie going to a party. Um, so that was more the big takeaway. So I got to Newfoundland, I think, a week before we started shooting, and just the atmosphere was very different, and it made me feel like more grounded in Jackie's mind.
Okay. Have you ever been to Newfoundland before filming this?
No, not before filming. It's beautiful.
I've never been, but have heard good things, and I've seen good things in the film as well.
Yeah, I think it would have been nice to be there in the summer. By the ocean in the summer would have been lovely. But we were there in September and October, and it was actually perfect. I mean, I love hiking in the more cloudy weather. It's much more relaxing, and I think for the film it was perfect. It was way more eerie of a setting. Um, yeah, it was nice.
Now, I know that you've filmed this in like September, October 2018. So is it kind of surreal that it's coming out now, nearly almost 3 years later? Exactly.
Yeah, it definitely is. When it premiered at TIFF, I feel like that was like, oh my God, this is happening so fast. And then the world shut down. And then I have a group chat with Olivia and Yasmin, who are my friends in the film. And we're just like, what's even going to happen? Like, people, like my friends, my family, all want to see the movie, and nobody can go to movie theaters anymore. And so it's been quite interesting to see how it all plays out. But still, as it's coming out very slowly, the feedback from it is still amazing, even though it doesn't have the same momentum as it did at TIFF or when we went to the Santa Barbara Film Festival. It still feels like the hype of it is continuing, which is kind of cool.
Now, I know it's playing on the TIFF digital Lightbox. So, like, have many of your Canadian friends been like watching it on the platform?
A few. I think a lot of them are actually waiting to go to a theater to see it, which I totally understand. But it's nice. I mean, my aunt, she watched it. She got her second dose of the COVID vaccine, and she stayed in bed all day and watched my movie, which is like 2 years ago. That sentence would be so crazy. But that was nice. And my boyfriend's mom watched it with her sister, and they connected with the character. It's just so fun to hear the feedback from people who are all around the world.
Okay, neat. I learned from my interview with Nicole that you auditioned by actually singing, right? You had to sing a song during the audition.
Oh my God, I did. Yeah.
Do you remember what song?
I had to sing a Joni Mitchell song that was recorded, but it was never officially released. And that was another reason I love the project, because I'm a huge Joni Mitchell fan. So I was like, this is great. Joni Mitchell is my range. But it was funny, we ended up not using that song.
Okay, can you talk about the song you actually sing in the film? Hey, who really cares?
Yeah, that song Nicole sent me very close to when we had to film it.
Okay.
And so I was listening to it nonstop, trying to learn it as quick as I could. And it's like there's a mix of, I want to make this sound super awesome and have it be the best recording ever. And then it's like also remembering this is Jackie, this isn't Ella. And Jackie's a teenager in high school in a small town. Like, she's not going to be doing some Christina Aguilera work. So had to keep it as simple as I could. But then when we actually were filming it, I was so nervous. It's just like how we filmed it. I'm literally standing on an elementary school stage singing the song Acapella, which is horrifying. But it worked out. I mean, every time I watch the film, it's hard for me because it opens with me singing a cappella. And even though I'm an actress, the sound of my own voice is something I don't want to hear.
Okay. I mean, it's very good though.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I love to sing. I love music. I think in another life I would have been a rock star, but here we are.
So was there an issue like kind of like holding back the city girl personality to like do the Aguilera bit that you speak of?
I just mean like, I think there were moments where I was practicing it, and I mean, I've studied music theater many, many years, and when I was in high school, I majored in musical theater.
Okay.
So I was constantly thinking of all of the notes I've gotten over my career and in my education, and trying to like have the perfect register and the perfect this and that. And to play the character, it's not that she's singing perfectly. She's as rough as everybody else would be trying out for their school choir, you know? So
Sure.
it was just kind of like, pardon me, I don't have to practice this as much as I am because it shouldn't be perfect.
Okay. Now, how much would you say you did rehearse for it?
That was 2018. Like, I cannot remember. I'm so sorry.
No, you're totally okay.
Okay.
I'm just asking for all the numbers, and it's 3 years ago.
I know. I'm like, I'm trying to remember, and like I totally forgot I auditioned singing. So I can't even remember how many times I practiced.
Okay, trying to go back into a time machine. No, I do think it's like very interesting though, just because like I don't think a lot of people may have heard the song by I forget her name, Lynn something with a P as her last name, but she's like an indie singer. So like it's kind of like people hearing almost your version of this song for the first time. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely hope people watch the movie and love that song and listen to her version because it is stunning. It is so surreal. It gives me goosebumps every time I listen to it. I think Black Conflux has an awesome soundtrack. I think the standout song is Moonlight Desires. It's all the rage. It's what everybody's talking about, and the April Wine song. But her song, you have to listen to the original. It's so beautiful. She has an amazing voice, and that whole album is gorgeous. So totally recommend it.
Now that April Desire song, was that the one when you were lip syncing in your room?
Yes.
Okay, because I got like Adventures in Babysitting vibes a little bit.
Oh, really? Yeah, that was a really fun scene to film. I was really nervous for it though, because I actually do that in my room. I think like a lot of people out there are like, why do they always make teenage girls in movies do that? But I actually do that. I bust out all of the choreo. So it was like really fun. But then I was like, also felt incredibly vulnerable. I think I was more nervous for that lip syncing scene than any of the other scenes, which is
Oh
fun.
yeah. Okay, cool. Now, I had asked Nicole a similar question because I just think it's so interesting that you guys did film this 3 years ago. It's almost like another life, almost, right? So I'd be curious, like, are there, watching your performance back, are there any moments where you would make a different acting decision now if you were to do that scene again?
Oh, yes. I mean, sorry. I just mean, I think after I watch any of my work, I am very, very critical of it. I think when you watch yourself, like, it's like when you take a photo of yourself and you're like, oh my God, I need to adjust my eyebrow. I need to adjust what my hand's doing. Why does my hand look like a chicken leg? So I think when I actually see the visual of it, it feels like, oh my God, am I acting badly? Like I can't tell. And so I have to remember that when you're actually like in your mind, it's not gonna look the same. sorry, I don't think I'm making sense right now, but
No, you are.
okay, good. I'm very critical of myself. And I think I will never, ever, ever feel like I did a great job. I think I feel like I've done a good job. And if the director's happy, I'm happy. But I never watch a movie and I'm like, that was perfect. I nailed it.
Okay. So, but you do watch your own films, but like, yeah, I think we're all our own biggest critics. So that's,
Exactly. I mean, I think somebody told me the other day Johnny Depp hasn't seen any of his own movies.
yeah. I don't think
Which
Morgan Freeman does.
yeah, and at first you're like, "Oh my god, like they've been in some of the greatest movies ever." But I understand. I mean, I think I will always watch my movies because it's like you spend so much time and energy and you bond with the people on set and it becomes this so weird experience that your soul is put into. So it's interesting to look back on it and watch and see the creative outcome of it, but it is hard to watch yourself on video.
Yeah. Imagine not seeing Shawshank Redemption. Like, couldn't be me, you know? No, I'd love to ask just because you have a smaller role in The Dark and the Wicked. So is that something that you'd enjoy watching more because you're only there for one creepy scene and then you're like, ah, okay, Ella's gone.
Know if it's that I enjoy it more or less. Um, because it's just each film is a totally different experience. Like Dark and the Wicked was so interesting because I had one day on set.
Okay.
So watching that, it was like, I wonder how the rest of shooting went, and I wonder what the whole outcome of this film is. So it was interesting to see it in that way. But when you're shooting every single day for over a month, you're watching the scenes and it's like, oh, I remember that day I wasn't feeling good, or oh, that scene we kept joking about the candle in the background, and it's just a totally different experience depending on the film.
Just you talking about that and just being like, you're only on set for one day. So that train of thought leads me to a question I had about Ryan McDonald, who I would be remiss if I did not mention. So the scenes that you didn't share with him, like, did you guys film on the same days or were you not on set when he was filming some of his scenes? I just,
No, so how we did it is we had all of Jackie's storyline filmed first,
okay.
and then whenever it is that the two conflux, we had one day together, him and I, and then he shot his section of the film, and I took a plane back home. Like it was two different movies being shot. We had one day overlap. I believe it might have been two because one day sounds crazy, but I'm fairly certain it was only one.
Yeah. Just the one dialogue scene and then a couple in passing scenes almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's it like watching his scenes?
Um, it's amazing. I think he's brilliant. When I watched the movie for the first time at TIFF, I just had goosebumps all across my body. I can't believe I'm in this film with an actor who's so brilliant at playing such a vulnerable character as Dennis. I thought he nailed it. If anybody nailed it, he did. Like, I think watching his scenes, like, I'm amazed every single time. Every single time I watch the film, there's something new that I'm in awe of. He, I think how he played Dennis is so important to the storyline of the film because you have a character that is a man who's an outcast from society and he's dealing with this sexual frustration, et cetera, et cetera. You can easily play it to be Joker or American Psycho. But he and Nicole made Dennis a real human. That could be your neighbor, that could be your friend, that could be the guy you're working with. And that's what's most common. these people exist in society normally. They're around us everywhere. We know that. He made him so human, so real. He's able to be present, talk to his coworkers, he's not a crazy villain who's going to go murder everybody. It's just somebody who's damaged, who isn't getting the help they need, who is self-destructive, and it manifests into something incredibly dangerous. He's brilliant.
Okay. And it's kind of like nuanced horror in a way, right?
Yeah, but I mean, so is life. Like, so is like the experience of being a woman around men like this. Some of the stories that happen, I mean, that's what Black Conflux is. It's like, this is too crazy to be real, but it happens around us all the time.
Yeah. And you wish it didn't, but it's disturbingly like how realistic it is.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I'm saying about it takes place in the 80s, but it could easily be now. That's the thing. It's dreadful, it's horrific, but this is the reality of it.
So speaking about filming in the 80s, it's kind of a funny question, but like, did you have your phone in your back pocket, or because like for continuity, because I just feel like there's no technology back then. So I just think it's interesting how like you probably always have your phone on you and like not filming without it.
Actually, so normally I don't like having my phone on set with me. It stresses me out. I'm scared it's
Okay.
gonna go off. But there was one day where I was being a little screenager, and I had my phone and I put it in my jacket, and we filmed the scene, and I remember Nicole like marching up to me, and she was like, "We can see your phone." And she took my phone out of my pocket, and I wanted to break down and cry. I was so embarrassed. Yeah, no, I should not be having my phone on set. I hated that moment. That was embarrassing.
That's a good story though.
Yeah, I don't think I told her that, but I felt really bad. I felt really, really bad.
Now, did you say Screenager or Screenager?
Screenager.
Never heard
Like
that before.
teenagers who are addicted to their screens.
I like that.
Screenager.
I'm gonna use that.
Okay, good.
Now, I think my perfect wrap up question is, I'm just gonna look. I have to find it on my sheet here. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, well, the perfect one. You gotta find it.
Probably gonna read it word for word. Oh, okay. So playing Jackie, are there any things you learned from playing her that you would tell your younger self? Like any advice you would give?
That's a good question.
The perfect one, right?
That is a perfect wrap-up question. From playing Jackie, is there anything I learned that I tell my younger self? I think from playing her, I was going through similar things at the time of playing her that I felt I had somewhat healed from and moved past. So it was kind of like playing her. I was experiencing the past all over again. So that's an interesting question. But I think my biggest takeaway that I'm thinking of right now is what we all learn at some point coming of age, or you learn it in your 20s or your 30s, but that life ends up being whatever it is you make it, which is a very cheesy line. But sometimes we find ourselves in places or moments in time that we didn't think would be our reality, but that's life. And so how you move forward. Oh my gosh, am I literally saying her last line right now?
I was like, Ella, are you trying to remember the script? But I mean, it's totally great advice though. I mean, Nicole said something very similar.
I did not mean to do that.
No, I mean, that's the biggest takeaway. So that's okay.
That is literally it. That's funny.
I love it.
There you go.
Just your face, like, wait.
The perfect wrap-up question.
With the ending of the film.
You knew.
That's awesome. I just love your face just realizing it. Wait a second. I've
Like,
heard this before.
yeah, whoa. I need to lie down after that.
Deja vu. But Nicole said the same, so that's totally great.
Did she?
Yeah, she was, I think she said that the monologue at the end kind of just encapsulates what advice she would give a younger, like what she would say to Jackie. So I think, and then I
Wow.
totally agree.
Goosebumps.
Awesome.
That's crazy. That's actually so crazy. Okay.
I don't know if I've ever given anyone goosebumps on the show before. So
Oh, there you go.
there we go. Cool. So Ella Ballentine as Jackie Dunphy in Black Conflux. Thank you very much for chatting with me about your film on the Filmcraziest show.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.